let's talk about that unfortunate term, the elevator pitch. I want to start by telling you why I really don't like that term. In fact, I'm going to tell you what I think is wrong with that term. Now, first and foremost, I'm going to assume that you actually know what is meant by the term elevator pitch, or indeed where it comes from. If you don't, I'll just give you a snapshot of that. The idea is very, very simple. You step into an elevator, and just before the doors close, some captain of industry, I'm going to go with Elon Musk, walks in, the doors close, and you have, between the time it takes for the doors to shut and for the doors to open again, for Elon Musk to get off at his floor to tell him all about your business. Let's talk about everything that's wrong with that in no particular order. Number one, we're British. It is not an elevator, it is a lift. And for a start, lift pitch sounds just a little bit rubbish, so we wouldn't call it that. Secondly, and I would say much more importantly, Elon Musk steps into your lift and you're going to spend the next 30 to 60 seconds talking about yourself? Really? How arrogant are you? This guy's got so much more knowledge to share with you than you could possibly have to share with him. You're going to do it the wrong way round. How wonderful this morning Stefan spoke about networking, the wrong way round. That's what's wrong with elevator pitches. All about you. And there's a main difference between a traditional elevator pitch and what I call a micro presentation. And the reason I don't say 40 seconds or 60 seconds is because if I use those terms, you instantly think of a particular networking organization. But of course, there are so many out there. So I don't want to actually label them in any way. So I'm going to use utilizing the term micro presentation. The difference is that if you actually start talking to someone who's trapped in a lift with you, they may or may not, emphasis may not, want to listen to you. In fact, their overarching thoughts might be, who is this nutcase and why are they talking to me? Please, for the love of God, can I get to my floor and get out of this lift? But it's not the same in a networking environment. In a networking environment, you are expected to talk about yourself. You're expected to actually bring people on side. So that's why I don't call them elevator pitches. What I do want to talk about is the true value of a decent micro presentation. Actually, that's not strictly true. What I want to talk about really is the negative value of a bad micro presentation. You see, your presentation is meant to do one thing and one thing only. It's to plant a seed, 3 magical words in the minds of the people in the room. Those magical words, and I do hope you'll write these down, are tell me more. That's it. Tell me more. The fundamental problem the mistake I would say that people make a lot in networking environments when they are giving their presentation is that they do it a bit more like this. Hello, I'm really good at what I do. Give me money now, please. Now, that might seem like a shrunken down version, but if you think about it, in the course of the last week, you've heard that presentation. Quick show of hands, how many people think, yep, I've heard that? Exactly. People have attempted to both open and close in a minute. Now, I don't know what an average customer is worth to each and every one of you, but I do want you to actually keep that figure in mind. In fact, write it down, what an average inquiry is worth to you. Now, I want you to think about the last time you spent that amount of money with a complete stranger after hearing them speak for less than 60 seconds. It's never happened. There is always a direct correlation between the amount of money you're going to spend and the amount of time that you need to think about it. No one has ever walked into a newsagent, picked up a packet of fruit pastels and thought, well, it's good, but I do still have a few more to see. Conversely, no one's ever walked into an estate agent's office, grabbed the details of a property and went, give me the keys. Time. We need time. We need time to take on board information. And 60 seconds is gone like that. It really is. So if you are attempting to close, you're making a mistake. What you want to do is open and just open. You actually want to create that sense of intrigue, not enigma, not to a point where people think, I just have no idea what you do. Because if you get to that point, well, people will switch off. I'll come back to that in a little while. Tell me more. Because the ultimate goal of your micro presentation is to create a one-to-one. Is to actually arrange a one-to-one. Is to have a queue of people saying, Gary, I really found it interesting what you were talking about just then. Can we have a one-to-one? I'd like to learn a little bit more about what you do. People want to learn more. Now, regrettably, in certain networking environments, there will be people that will ask you for a one-to-one because they're ticking a box. Certain networking organizations reward you for having a certain number of one-to-ones, whether you want to have them or not. Wayne knows who I'm talking about. He's already mentioned them. We're all victims of it. Going to one-to-ones that we just think, why in God's name am I here? You're not my target market. Now, we've spoken about that in the previous talk. They might not be your target market, but they might know someone who is. So you can convert a one-to-one into actually having value. But here's the thing. Who's going to want to have a one-to-one with you if your opening engagement is anything but? It's just a billboard. It's a massive advert. Hello, I'm awesome. Give me money. You wouldn't actually relate to anyone like that in any other walk of life. And yet people think it works in networking. No, 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 no. Tell me more. Those are the 3 magical words. I want you to put 2 other magical words underneath those 3. And by the way, keep these next to your computer. Quite a lot of my clients actually have these on a Post-it note just under their camera. They can see it, no one else can. Here are the other 2 magical words. Nobody cares. I'll say it again. Nobody cares. That seems a little harsh, doesn't it? Seems a little rude. Nobody cares. What do I mean by that? I'll explain. Of course I will. Otherwise, well, we've run way on time. The point is this. I want you to think for a moment about why you joined your networking group. Why did you join it? Quick show of hands. How many of you joined it to buy lots of other stuff from people you barely even know? No hands went up. What a shock. How many of you joined your networking group in order to grow your business and find more clients? Of course. Now, I know there are other reasons. There are other benefits of being part of a network. I'm not here to list those today. Those are for the people that want to recruit you into their network. They're all multiple. There are so many reasons, but we all joined for selfish reasons. So if you joined for that, isn't it reasonable to assume that everyone else in the room joined for the same reason? Of course it is. So why should they be listening to you talk about what you do and the customers that you want? They don't. They're not interested. They genuinely don't care. Now, over time, when they've started to know, like, and trust you, sorry, I'm borrowing from another network there, but when they do start to know, like, and trust you, sure, you can stand up and genuinely ask for help. Showing that little bit of vulnerability to a group of people who know you can actually be incredibly empowering. To say, I'm here because I think you guys can help me. I'm looking for this, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for this. I'll go on to talk about the power of specifics in a while. But you're there to help yourself. So how can you translate that into a working micro presentation? It's really very, very simple. You talk about how what you do helps other people. You present yourself as if you're being seen from the other side of the camera. See yourself as others see you. You know, Keith can actually stand up in front of a room full of people and say, if you've got an absolutely crippling fear of spiders, so much so that when your wife calls you to come and take one out of the bathroom, you make excuses, I can help you with that. Now, Keith has spoken a little bit of, I know you can, Keith, thanks for that. But the point is that, yes, Keith has spoken about what he does, But can you see how he's framed it? He's made it all about the person in the room who has a crippling fear of spiders. He's also made it about all the husbands and wives in the room. So, well, I don't have a fear of spiders, but my spouse does. Ooh, could you help me with that? Keith, your thing about spiders, I think I need to know a little bit more. Can we have a one-to-one? Yep. Done. At which point he talks about it, and I'm fairly sure he would probably be able to land a client within one-to-one meeting. Because that's the beauty thing about therapy, specifically hypnotherapy. You have a problem, I can solve it. He is very much the A-team in that regard. Okay, it's a straightforward problem solution situation. Now, for some of you, there are a few more steps. You might need a few more one-to-ones in order to make things work. But ultimately, getting that one-to-one came from because you frame it from the other people's point of view. Does that make sense to people? People sort of understanding how it would work there? Think about, Joe as a virtual assistant. Now, Joe can actually, now I don't know Joe, we've never met before today. But, Joe could list all of the things she does. All of them. And it would be incredibly boring to listen to. Okay. By the way, that's not saying Joe's list of things is boring. Anyone's list of things is boring. Never list. Okay. Now, I appreciate that you've got lots and lots and lots of things that you do for people. But can you imagine if we went back, if Joe stood up and goes, well, I can answer your phones, I can do your admin, I can sort out your spreadsheets, I can write Word files, I do email. I've already shut off. I can't listen to all of that. It's too much to take on board. Pick one thing that you do and talk about it well. But from Joe's perspective, Joe, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you write emails for people? Do you do email sales letters, and do you do that for people? You do. Brilliant. Okay, thanks for taking part. I appreciate that. So Joe's way of saying it is, I write sales letters for my busy executives. Great. That's nice. Quite good. What if she was to actually say, I give busy executives more time to focus on what they love doing whilst I help take care of their sales pipeline? Now, who here is a sales executive would think, oh, I like the sound of that? Because there are an awful lot of us in business right now who really hate selling. Okay, we don't like marketing. There's a genuine benefit to working with each of you. Think about taking yourself out of your own head and enter the mind of your ideal client, and then come from their perspective. Now, you can do that in the first 10 seconds. Stefan talked about the power of making a powerful first impression. Well, the good news about networking, and he's touched on this, is you can only make one first impression, but it doesn't need to be a lasting impression. The great thing about networking, you get to go back. You get to say different things. You get to meet new people. You get to keep crafting it and crafting it and crafting it until the first things that come out of your mouth make people think, oh, I need to talk to that guy. Imagine, for example, and we've got any accountants in the room? No. Okay, great. So, but the accountants are great, I say, for the feedback afterwards. No, let's use accountants as an example. Someone stands up. Good morning. My name's Paul and I'm an accountant. Great. Now, if you're looking for an accountant, good news. You've just met one. Chances are that you probably aren't looking for an accountant, or already have one, or don't feel you need one. It's going to be one of those three. But no way has that accountant got your interest. You can switch off now. You don't care. But what if he was to stand up and say, good morning, everyone. It's Paul Rose from XYZ Accounts. And just last week, one of my clients was able to put down the deposit on his first home, and HMRC paid for all of it, thanks to my help. So what did you do? So you got, and I've got questions spinning around in my head because this guy's just made some really bold claim, which is absolutely true and just intriguing enough that I've got to say, how did you do that? Great. Do you want a one-to-one? You'd want to know, wouldn't you? Because let's face it, whilst no one in the room might be looking for an accountant, everyone in the room is looking for ways to screw over the HMRC and make a bit of cash legally. Make that point. Some of you maybe not. I'm not judging. The point is that person can help. Bold claims. Make them bold, make them beautiful, make them brash, because you are awesome at what you do. And if you can present that from the mind of your most satisfied client, you're even more awesome. And here's a little tip for that. If you're not sure, call your most satisfied client and ask them. Very simple call. Hi, I'm speaking at a networking event next week. I'd really like to tell your story because I believe that I helped you, but I'm not entirely clear on how. Can we just go through it? What a lovely way to actually reconnect with a client you might not have spoken to for a while. There's a sales call without even being a sales call. How that person might even say, well, what's this networking event? Can I come along? Great, bring a visitor, expand your network. Have a whole bunch of other people see you the way he sees you, and then have him see you the way everyone else sees you. It grows and grows and grows. You might help his business. Now, this is not about how to bring visitors into networking groups. Again, I know that people tick a box in that regard, but it is a great way to expand your network. I want to leave you thinking about currency. In any networking organization, and indeed, this is a transferable skill. You can use this in speaking to your new clients. You'll find yourself trading in one of three major currencies: health, wealth, and time. You give your clients those things in different proportions. I'll say them again for you: health, wealth, and time. Now, what's interesting is that when I said those three words to you, how many of you actually had one which sprung straight to mind and think, I do that? How many of you had one straight away? Quick show of hands. Great, you had one. If you take an extra minute, could you find the other two? You could. Joe, I'll use you as another example there. Of course you could. Joe, which was the one you first came up with when you first heard it?
Time. Followed by wealth.
Yeah, absolutely right. That's exactly what I would have said. For a virtual assistant, what do? You give your clients more time. Of course you do. But Joe then quickly went on to think, well, with more time, they could actually work more on their business, which means that they'll make more money. Yeah. Great. And what might that do for their mental well-being?
Be fantastic.
So there's your health. Okay. All three. And you all trade in all three. Now, the interesting thing about that, and the reason that I actually bring to the front, is that when you first start talking, everyone else in the room will instantly pick one for you. When you start talking about being a virtual assistant, everyone's brain will go, time, bang, straight away, it's done. So for a while, talk about time, but change it up. Pick one of the other ones. In fact, pick the last one. You know, time led to wealth. Wealth led to health. What if you led with health? What about all those people that had dismissed the idea of speaking to a VA because they have enough time and they've got enough money? Great. How stressed are you on a daily basis? Jeez, I can't even begin. Ah, interesting. Let me help you with that. It had never occurred to that person that the virtual assistant could help with their mental health. But of course they can. We all can. And not just mental health, could be physical health. More time could be that extra hour to go down to the gym. Could be that extra hour to go for a walk, go for a bike ride, whatever it might be. We can invest because we are trading in these three currencies all day, every day. And when we're networking, everyone defaults to the first one and they get stuck on it. And I invite you, ladies and gentlemen, to just get unstuck, move slightly to the left and sit back down again in a new currency. One that people might have thought, oh, I never really thought about it like that. That phrase, by the way, is the most common thing I hear when I start coaching people. When we start deconstructing their business and putting it back together in a 30-second, 10-second, and even 5-second presentation. Ooh, I never really thought about it like that. You should. Your clients have. Ask them. They'll be more than happy to tell you. always talk to the one visitor. Always, always, always talk to the one visitor. And by the way, if there are no visitors, talk to the one visitor. Well, you'll know what I do. White noise. Right after that, white noise is going through most people's brains. Because what you're actually saying is, do you know what? I'm so freaking lazy. I can't even be bothered to remind you what I do. If you can't be bothered to know who I am, I don't really see why I should bother. That's who you are. Really? That's who you are? Brad Burton is going to be speaking here tomorrow. When have you ever heard Brad Burton not start by telling you who he is and what he does? And who here doesn't know Brad Burton? Every single time, without exception, it's drilled into his brain. For the one person who doesn't know who you are, tell them. When you actually say, who do you know who wants this? Maybe they know some, maybe they don't. Much better actually say, I'm looking to speak to John Smiths of ABC Accountants. I want to talk to him about la, 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 la. Now, you've done a lot of things just then. There's a lot to unpack, but that's why you do it, because there's a lot to unpack. First and foremost, let's say Wayne knows John Smith of ABC Accountants. Now, if I just went, this week I want to speak to John of ABC Accountants, Wayne goes, oh, I know, John, got a guy in my networking group, Paul Rose, wants to, wonder if you take his call. What's he want to talk to me about? I have no idea. That's the end of that call. Bit rubbish. So tell him what you want to talk about. That is key. Secondly, Wayne doesn't know John Smith, but he does know Fred Bloggs at ABC Accountants. And he asked me, would I like to talk to Fred? Yeah, I'll talk to Fred. Brilliant. Still winning. Okay, let's go the third way. He doesn't know John Smith and he doesn't know ABC Accountants, but he does know John Brown at XYZ Accountants. Would I like to talk to him? Of course I would, because I'm interested in speaking to accountants. So it makes sense. There's the link there. But if I just stood up and said, this week I'm looking to speak to accountants, I've not triggered enough. It's too vague and he'll switch off. But when I'm using a name of a company and a subject, I'm saying to his brain, oi, Wayne, you know this bloke, don't you? That's what my brain is doing. I think, yes, I do. And there's something really much more powerful going on here. Giving a referral feels great. It feels really nice. How good is it when you come into a networking environment and say, I've got 20 referrals this week, or even just phone up that one guy and say, I've got someone for you. It feels good. So when you give a specific, you are telling the room, I want to help you feel good. Do this for me. You're going to feel good. So now I anchor you and your business to feeling good. How great is that? How much more business will you pass to someone who makes you feel good every time you just think about them? That is the true power of being specific and the one they never tell you about.